Prajavahini and I'm Archana Swami. Today we have Lakshmi Shankar, who is a part of organizing committee of the Bangalore Poetry Festival, a one of its kind event dedicated to poetry lovers, also the co-founder of Artagalata, to discuss the prominence and journey of AG and the future of reading as the part of quintessential Bangalorean experience. Welcome Lakshmi Shankar. It's my pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely meeting you and lovely to be here on this show.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I'm really interested in going forward with the interview. So, first things first, what is Artagalata like? Artagalata is not like visiting any bookstore. It's an experience, be it from the kind of books you get to read to the filter coffee you offer. Like, there's a comfort of home, outside home. So, what is the inspiration behind such a unique concept?
We started Artagalata in 2012, and from my childhood, I've always wanted to have a bookstore. It's because my father used to read a lot, and my house always used to have lots of books lying about. He used to have books in the bathroom, he used to have books at the dressing table, he used to have books under the bed. There were books everywhere, like you can find pieces of puzzle all around the house. It was like that. That's the kind of environment I grew up with. So I've always wanted to have a bookstore. And when you read books, you read about bookstores which have a fireplace, which have cats, cuddling on the little mats nearby. It is a very dreamy version, and reality is completely different. When I started to think about Artagalata in 2012 with my husband Subodh, who is a co-founder, we needed to think anew. It couldn't have been my dreamy version which I thought about so many years ago. It had to be what is relevant to people today, right? I love books, yes, but how does that translate into action? I can't just place books on the shelf and expect people to come. People need a reason to come out. There are lots of bookstores, and at that time when I was trying to open Artagalata, bookstores were closing. Actually, multiple bookstores were closing at the time. It was a very depressing time, and I opened Artagalata on April Fool's Day. When I sent out a mail and kind of informing my friends, we are starting Artagalata, it's a bookstore, it's going to be all about vernacular literature and things like that, people thought it was a joke. Are you making fun of us? Is it April's, Fool's Day joke? You're making up things, are you out of your mind? Is it like, kind of like a midlife crisis? You want to do something to prove yourself? Lots of questions were asked, But the reason I waited to start Artagalata was I needed a partner in crime. I needed somebody to support me because by nature I'm very introverted, extremely shy, very chaotic. Creative, yes, very chaotic. The problem comes when some things have to be translated into action. You need a person for bookkeeping, for accounts. There are money involved. There are lots of things involved in something, planning, all that. And I've been talking about starting a bookstore for a long time to my husband. And every year I would come up with this very sing-song voice and say, so can we start a bookstore? And then he would say, we'll think about it. That used to be his normal reaction. And suddenly in 2011, he answered saying, okay, let's try it. Yeah, I have to confess, I didn't have any such big goal or motivation when we started. All we wanted to do was very simple, put up vernacular languages and sell books. These things came much later, actually. In the neighborhood, there was a school, and the principal had asked us whether we can do something for the children. Okay. So we thought, why not, it would be interesting. So we did a cookie making class and a storytelling class. And it met with a good response. The kids were so happy. We were happy in that environment. We realized we feed off the energies, So, and then suddenly a brainwave occurred to us saying that we should have events. Events bring in people. Events bring in different kinds of people. So, and you can have somebody from a 7-year-old to a 70-year-old coming to your store. And lots of people who are interested in the events are also interested in books. They're interested in literature. So everything is connected to the other, thing. So that's something we realized after that event. After that, we realized we should have a calendar of events, start calling authors. First author was also a Tulika author. She was reading to like 6-year-olds. And then we realized this is how you build the place. You need to bring in the environment, and the environment comes with events. And the events bring in more people. People buy books, and they give us the happiness that we want to build a community.
Actually, you have been successful in creating a community for vernacular readers, which is not possible otherwise, like maybe bringing in the events or bringing in the people. So what were your thoughts initially when you're trying to do all these? Were you having doubts, or were you like, okay, I'm going ahead for this?
We had so many doubts, we had so many failures. First time the roof leaked during the performance. We didn't know where to keep our faces. Okay, and there was one more occasion where the author had arrived. She's a very, very famous author, Pratibha Nandakumar, and I didn't have, I had
No audience.
I'd done my level best. I had, advertised. I'd asked my PR to support me. We had done online. We had done a lot of things, but I failed.
It's not you failed, like people didn't show up.
To honor a huge author, when you invite them, you need to respect them, right? So my husband and I, we still continued. There were two people who dropped by, and we had the event.
Okay.
And we spoke to her, and we became friends. And she was later when she made a speech. It was during the AGBLF Awards. She mentioned this. She started.
Okay.
This.
See, from having just two people for your walk-in event, today you conduct events at a larger scale, be it literature festival, be it poetry festival. You are the people in Bangalore. So
For
from
that, I should thank the kindness of all the authors, people, especially Atta Galata community. The community that sits in the cafe comes to our stores. I think that is the biggest, takeaway.
you definitely create that atmosphere, and people just drag in, like they are just pulled with the vibe of the place.
I'm glad because I thought originally only old like to hang out, in places like this. I'll get 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds.
College crowd is
Lot of college crowd there, and they're very enthusiastic. They participate in everything. A different kind of world we are in. Yes, cynicism.
true, and Bangalore bookstores are like pretty different, right? Like when it comes to Atta Galata, yeah, a 7-year-old can actually come, participate in an event, read a book, and have some fun there and go. And at the same point, a 70 or a 60, whatever age group, there's no age bar, right? Like you have books and events for all age groups. How was that possible? Like how is it a thought even in your head? Because usually it would be for a kids only event, or only a teens, or only one certain age group. So how could you manage to pull all the age groups into AG?
More than pulling all the age groups, I would say it is a very deliberate strategy. What happens when you reduce events, you make it only particular thing is, brings in only a particular kind of people. I wanted different kinds of people. Though I'm a shy person, I sit at my cafe and talk to the people that are there. I like the students, I like the old people that come in, that talk about, times bygone. I like talking to kids, chatting with them. So only way I could achieve that and not have repetition in that is to have different kinds of events that have the flavor to bring in different kinds of people. And I can't take the credit for that. When we said we'll open up a calendar of events, people started coming in saying, I'll do this. Then there was this Zen Tangle who said they'll do something for the older generation, for 70-year-olds. And then there was this, storyteller who said he'll do something in Tanglish, Tamil and English mixed. So we had interesting propositions.
No, you gave a platform and people just landed there.
They landed.
What made you to choose not just one, like why are not fixed just with Kannada or Tamil or Telugu or just the South Indian languages? You have been open with all the vernacular languages. It's great. So what has been your experience in the journey, and what has been your learning by bringing all of them into your bookstore?
I feel everybody loves their mother tongue. It's something you grew up at home. It has an air of familiarity. It's like comfort food. You go home, you have hot pongal or curd rice or whatever, khichdi or whatever your heart desires. I think language is that. I see on the bus or train, Malayali meeting another Malayali, they become very happy, overjoyed. They forget that other people exist around and start, talking in Malayali. You tend to bond. So that's one thing you figure out. So if you are so, like I'm very fond of Tamil. I read in Tamil. My mother loves Tamil. And if person is fond of their mother tongue, you realize that other people are also fond of their mother tongues. They want to buy books for their parents and send it to them. They want to see what bonds the parents to those books. They want to read translations. So it's a connect. So, and it, you enjoy doing that. So if you feel that for one language, obviously it can be felt for all the other languages. And it's an opportunity, right? To explore, to have different kinds of events. And it's lovely listening to languages even though you don't understand the meaning at all. Sometimes, especially poetry, I might not know a word of Bengali, but somebody reads it, sounds so beautiful. I feel like,
Poetry has that magic,
yeah,
right?
I feel like I'm transported somewhere else. I might not know a word of it.
No, I really love the way you're speaking, right? That's true. But do you see a pattern of one particular age group picking up those books? Because I really don't see the younger generation or the current generation picking books from their native languages. They would rather pick an English book, never from their native language. So, what do you suggest them? Like, in what way can we bring them into our native reading?
I have realized the more you push people, more people will rebel. You can't say read native language, support this language, push people to read books. Books are not meant to be like that. They're meant to be taken of your own free will, and you need to enjoy it, and you need to enjoy the freedom it offers. So basically, we're talking about freedom. So you open a platform, you expose them to all kinds of different languages. There are people who come for 8 years and taken their first book, and they come and tell me, this is the first time I've read a book. Right? There are kids like that. But there are people who are avid readers. There are people who read 1 or 2 books. They're specific about what they read. All kinds of readers. I believe there is just intellectual content that is meant to be consumed. It's available in different forms. It's available in languages, it's available in English, it's available everywhere. As long as you keep consuming, you keep growing. I think that's what people should realize. I don't think you can push people.
Somewhere I feel it's our cultural heritage, right? Like,
But you gently introduce it. Now there are a lot of beautiful children's books. Apart from Famous Five and Secret Seven, there is Sulika, there is Pratham, there is Katha. So many publishers bringing stories about moon and about curd rice and about dosa and all the things that ethnicity that belongs to us. There's so many publishers now. So people love it when it's beautifully presented. There's a lovely cover. There's a lovely story. Children immediately recognize it. So they can make their own judgments, and there is no way.
we need to put the content in front of them and they will automatically pick.
Let them explore, let them search, let them find out what they like. They might not like what you like, so you can't take offense at that. All that matters is that they read, they consume, and they grow. That is all is important.
True, true. Over the years of AG, like, do you see that there's a pattern of improvement in the way people pick books? Like, the generations are changing. In these 5 or 10 years of whatever your experience is, do you see that there is shift in the way this younger generation are picking books? Do you see that by any chance?
The shift is happening with the children, where the mothers are picking up more of Indian publishers to show it to their children, which is nice. They're being open-minded about it. They're not saying this is the best thing Nancy Drews and Hardy Boys are for you and Indian literature is not. They're focusing on Amar Chitrakatha, Tinkle, a lot of things making a comeback. When you do that when they're young, as they grow, the choice is also wide. They know it exists and they can make a conscious decision to pick that or this. I think that is the important part, which is starting to happen now. So the shift will show slowly, but it'll take time.
It's not that suddenly you just go randomly pick one and come back. Like, the parents reading those Indian literature.
To their children and speaking in their mother tongues to the children, I feel that is very important.
Food is slightly changing a much slower pace, but I think the language, even now we speak to them in our native language, they answer back in English. Somewhere it just hurts to, why are the children not speaking your own native language? So I think books can be a bigger boost to bring them back to the roots and speak the language.
Yeah. I agree with you absolutely. I think translations do bridge that gap. We just have to encourage them and tell them and read as much as you can, widen your borders. But nothing can be pushed. Anytime you say don't step out, people will be stepping out. Don't eat this, people will be eating that. Even you feel an innate need to rebel. So
that's there in us, right?
Yes. So
that's
I
true.
don't think that works out according to a pattern.
True. Okay, now let's come back to AG. What can a new author expect? Like, what kind of support? Of course, you are giving them the space to put their books on your shelves. But what kind of support can AG give apart from that?
We create the events for them, and the people who regularly come to AG come for all these book events.
Okay.
And we do the PR support also, do the listings and everything else for them. And literally we hold hands, because everybody who's a first time author is nervous. They're worried they won't make it in the traffic. They're worried the person who's going to ask them questions won't turn up. And they're worried how will they sound? Will they sound intellectual? Will the book do
might be
well?
really good at
Will
writing,
somebody
but how will they
buy their
present?
book? See, you made yourself very vulnerable by putting all your thoughts together in a book and place it there. And you're very sensitive to, everything, rejection, appreciation, everything. So we literally hold hands in the journey. Either Subodh or I will be there. We'll be talking to them much before that. And this part is more important than people realize it. Even I'm petrified of public speaking. So I understand. My hands become cold. I become shivery.
I think we are not used to. No, as we grew up, the events we took part in school or college were not as much as the exposure today's kids have. So I'm sure that also led. But I'm glad your literature celebrations, your weekly events, be it your annual lit and poetry festivals, everything is just like the cultural enthusiasts have their treat. So, in bringing up all those together, what are your challenges to put up an event?
Challenges, we are short of manpower. My husband and I are there, and there's one girl who builds, and we have the serving staff. Everything else has been done on the strength of the Atagalata community. There are a bunch of babies that I call the Atagalata babies. They've been with me right from the onset. They came to the cafe and made friends with me despite the age difference. It's like I'm raising the average age by 30-40 years. So they made friends with me. They've been part of the planning. They've been part of the execution. And they've been with me all these years, like a team. It's not like I pay them. Become part of the family.
experience of it.
They love it. They love being here. They'll come. There are some who work out of AG. They don't go to offices. I find it very disconcerting. So those people are the backbone to whatever we do. Bangalore Lit Fest, when we put up the store there, we don't have the manpower. We are not like this big, huge store that has.
But you're doing something to strengthen our language, strengthen our culture. So, as a community of vernacular readers, people whoever are coming together is great. But do you think any governmental support or something would be great, or what are your expectations regarding that?
I don't have expectations. I think it's good to not to have expectations and just do what you want to do with what is available. If something comes, great,
Added
awesome,
bonus,
added bonus, welcome addition. But otherwise, I think you should not wait for the people to hold you up. I think you should start doing it. You should start rolling out the carpet. Then things work out automatically. I've always found that. When we started Poetry Festival, we had no funding.
Yeah, that's your baby, right? So, how was that initial thought of bringing up a poetry festival?
We used to do a lot of poetry events and slam events. And there's an event called Let Poetry Be. Okay, even the name, there's a very funny story associated with it. We had a meeting. There's this young guy called Samantak Badra, and he says, come all the way to some tech park to have a discussion with me. I go there. I'm so tired because I've driven for like 2 hours. And then they're having some very literary quarrel on what should happen and all that. I'm so tired, I'm hungry. And I say, let poetry be. So they suddenly said, that's a lovely title. And that's how it happened. It became a monthly event.
Hunger just.
And then people started coming, 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds, bathroom poets, they started talking. Then I realized poetry has appeal, only when it's read. People don't want to take books of poetry and read, but they would listen to it.
The emotion of that person comes out when they are reading, right?
Poetry become lyrics in your movies, in whatever you see outside. So there's a huge connect. So we decided we'll focus on that and make it a part of our yearly, festival.
No, that vibration is totally different. It's lovely. So, and what has been your journey through last 2 years? Do you think COVID has changed the pattern of reading or the way people are pursuing books? Has there any deviation to what the literary fests and the poetry fests continued, or?
See, there has been a shift to online, and I cannot claim to be very comfortable with online. For me, it's been, I believed in a place where people physically get together, to meet.
The feel of being there.
Being together, feel of, holding hands. So this online doesn't offer that. We still continue. We want to move with the time. So we've changed all the events. But COVID has opened our eyes to 2-3 different kinds of audiences. Now we can have people who are physically present. You have live audiences. True. It's become a tradition to do that. So we're getting more people in, I feel. So we're involving more people, and we're also getting authors from who live in various countries whom we could have never afford to pay the fare or approach and say, come here. We can meet celebrities over that. It has widened up the
exposure you are giving is
yes, absolutely.
So when can we expect the poetry evenings and the musical slam or whatever events you conduct at AG be alive?
We have bought our own premises in Indranagar,
Lovely.
5 minutes from the metro.
Oh, awesome.
We should expect to open by March.
Okay.
And hopefully, there's going to be a auditorium, a bookstore, a cafe, and hopefully we will have all those things come alive by March. We're keeping our fingers crossed, and we're also doing a fundraiser for Bangalore Poetry Festival coming January. Okay. So, yes, and
so how is that new AG going to be? Is it a revised version of the previous AG, or is it a total revamp?
It is a revised version of AG. There are things people love about AG. We don't want to change that. We want to give the same feel, but offer more facilities. We want to have a bigger cafe area. We want to have proper seats in the auditorium. It's something, we used to have very flexible seating, like, you can sit anywhere. So that's a feel of AG, but then we realized it's a good thing to have a combination of fixed seating as well as some area to play around with. So that's something we come up with, and we realized, rain affects us a lot in Bangalore, so we need to make provisions for that. We permanently used to end up being flooded. So, yes, there are floods, please don't come in. And we've realized we need to make provisions to have an online audience as well as the regular audience.
Okay. So going further, that would be your setup.
You need to, makeover. We have to have poetry events, but we need to do the makeover and change a little bit to suit the times.
So how are you gearing up for that? You will have live audience, and you will have offline, the in-person audience.
So we need to do the preparation for the studio according to that. So we've done that, and we're also hoping that there is currently an online program running which says you can ask your favorite author the questions. Okay. We have hope to continue that. Okay. Ask your favorite authors, leave your questions at the AG. We'll answer it in the week. Your best questions will be selected and we'll continue. So we have to change things once it starts.
So you are changing, adapting to the new world by doing all these.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So in this process, what are your biggest learnings?
Biggest learnings, I don't have patience. I'm the most impatient person. I think everything should happen tomorrow. COVID has been a huge lesson to me. And to be more understanding and to talk to people. I'm scared of talking to people. Both Aata Kalata, COVID. Yes, the person that I'm at AG is a far cry from the person that I was through college or through work or something. Okay. It's very quiet, not very confident, extremely retiring person. Now I know I can communicate, I can bond with people. So it has changed me personally. I've learned a lot. It has made me more understanding. It has made me understand everybody has problems. We all
are humans.
Yeah, we are very infallible. We can make mistakes. We can fall down and laugh at ourselves.
So, but you have seen a lot of people who are struggling for their identity, maybe a new author or a new artist who comes to perform at AG. And you have seen that well-read people who are like published authors. So, do you see them and pick something from their characters like, okay, this is something I want to imbibe in myself? How is it like meeting different peoples at AG, people's personalities at AG?
It's been very enjoyable meeting different kinds of personalities, but I have to tell you the truth, I don't believe that I can emulate but there are a lot of things that I can't achieve. I can appreciate it in another person. I can say this is wonderful, but we are a work in progress, no, all of us. We are constantly growing. I'm hoping with the exposure to so many things, unconsciously I am growing. I may not see it in myself and in Artagalata as identity.
I'm sure I've spoken to some of your babies at AG. They feel really comfortable being in your vibe, like supported in your vibe. So I'm sure you're emulating it differently by giving it to the next generation without even realizing that what you're doing. So
I blindly love them all. I feed them. I share my lunch with people who are there. My husband thinks that makes no sense because I run a cafe, but I bring sambar rice, tamarind rice. I pester everybody to eat with me, and I spend a lot of time with them. I go shopping with them. I feel like Peter Pan and the Children in Neverland. I'm never going to get old if I stay like this.
that's when everybody wishes, right? It's like, yes, that's my wish for this lifetime.
Yes, I live in a very alternate universe, very happy universe.
Isn't it what people are striving for? Like one day their dream would be to have something like that, be in a space like that. You're already living in something like that space, so it's a dream come true for you.
Yes, and touch wood, I hope the dream continues. I hope the dream continues in a new fashion that can appeal to people.
That's lovely. The curation of books at AG is also quite interesting. So whose thought is it behind that process?
Subodh and I work together for this. We have a committee for curation.
Okay.
We have authors from different languages who put up a selection of books. It's almost like the long list for books.
Okay.
And then we sit together, work on it, talk about it, and then procure the books. It's extremely long process, but we enjoy it. We just do it monthly, and then we look at the sales and see what is gone, what is not. See, sometimes the authors might feel that this would sell, but doesn't happen in the
It's not translated into the real life.
so we need to study that. So it's been a process of learning and growing. It's something we've been working on continuously. Even in the events, we've done the same pattern.
Yeah, BLF Prize, Poetry Festival. What is this combination of Artagalata and Literature Festival prizes?
For Bangalore Literature Festival, we are very honored to be associated with them, and we do this AG BLF Prize. We've instituted the prize for 7 categories.
Okay.
One for fiction, non-fiction, achievement in Kannada literature, cover design, youth literature. So we've instituted it in a number of categories, and every year the categories have been growing. We just started with 3, but now there are 7. And fingers crossed. We feel that this should be our contribution to the field of literature and books and authors, and we love this, so we feel this should grow more.
Truly. How much ever we speak about books, those stories are never going to end. So what is your deepest satisfaction when you speak about literature, or when you meet some artist or author or a writer or some poet? What is your feel of bringing them to the platform of AG?
It's always interesting to meet new people, even otherwise, whether they're authors or poets or artists, or they make statues and paper mache, because we have different kinds of people coming in. We learn about their skills, we learn about their struggles, we learn about how difficult it is to get a platform, and they're so appreciative that we feel totally humbled. I think whatever humility I've learned is because of them. I think I would give the credit to every person that have come up.
So is it the same kind of effort for, not in the stature, it would be definitely smaller and bigger. For a weekly event, the amount of people that gather would be quite minimum, and for an annual event, your poetry festival or your literature festival, the numbers would be big. But what goes behind, is it the same, or the way you see things are completely different?
The way you see things become completely different. Poetry festival, it just takes a larger stature by itself. There are more components involved in it. There is funding involved in it. There are the number of people involved in it are more. Coordination involved is enormous, right from selecting the authors. And for Poetry Festival, we have a huge committee. We have Shiny Anthony, she's the director of the festival. There's Amrita Dongre, there is Saurav Roy, he writes in Hindi. Maitri Chatterjee, Prashant Shankaran, it's a huge committee. And Vikram Sridhar looks after the children's programming. Okay. So we meet month on month. It's a long process. It takes over a year. So it's completely different.
Just keeping your charge on, and that's like gearing up. I'm sure you would have read a lot of books and continue to read because that's your passion. So, what is that currently holding you by page? What are you reading?
Language of Woman, Jeet, and Salma's new book I've started. My favorites would be like Mary Coralie's Vendetta. I think it's been a plot of many movies, many Hindi movies, many Tamil movies without realizing have been based on that. And she writes in a very beautiful fashion. Then one of my favorite classics would always be like Sherlock Holmes, I love. And another book would be Scarlet Pimpernel because I was always a romantic.
At heart. It's always going to be there.
Yes, absolutely. And Tamil, my absolute favorite is Ponniyin Selvan. I read it almost, continuously because it always feels different to me. There are some books that don't have an ending. Every time you read it, you feel like this could have happened that way. So that's one of those books. And for the action quotient, I read The Saint, Leslie Charteris. And there's a book called Sudden. It's a Western. Those days they used to take out guns and shoot people, right? So Sudden takes whatever. It depends on your feeling on what you want to read. It need not be totally literary.
No, for the fun of it, of course, we want to read.
And then, I'm currently reading a translation of Korean poetry. It's written by Kim Min Young. And she's making, it's called Beautiful and Useless. She's talking about poetry. I sometimes think I'm like that.
I think you're too relating. I think whenever we read something, we truly put ourselves in that and read. So,
How poetry is perceived and how it's beautiful and how, she talks about, she's against the patriarchy and, she is talking about how poetry should break away from all norms and be free to express.
I think reading and writing somewhere allows us to experience that freedom, isn't it?
She uses a lot of cuss words in her poetry. She feels that just because something is serious or solemn doesn't make it great poetry.
See, whatever you do, you must enjoy that.
Yes, that's what she talks about. She talks about the freedom and she talks about the passion and she talks about a new way. She says, let me take the mask off the moon. You can't even fake a smile. So
one-liners are such deep ones, right? It just makes you think the moment you read it. Lovely, lovely to know so many things. So what message do you want to give our audience, whoever has watched the journey of AG and the journey of Lakshmi Shankar through AG?
We are opening in a new space in Indranagar. Please support us, please visit us, please give us this opportunity. And we hope, we can remain true to what AG was. And to all my babies, thank you for being there. Thank you for supporting me. I have made you do terrible things. I apologize. But I love you all and hope you will stay with me forever till the end of the journey.
No, AG definitely never let our expectations down. It has been truly, truly one of the coziest plays where we could reach out to our native writers. So without a language barrier for sure. So that vessel of language is always full at AG. And thank you so much for showing us the experience of AG through your experiences. And hopefully it grows much more. And Bangalore expects a beautiful set of poetry and literary festivals continuing through AG and through Lakshmi Shankar and Sumodh Shankar. So hopefully to see much more from your end. Thank you so much for watching this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being such a lovely and vivacious host. I wouldn't have made it through the program except for you.
Your experience speaks it all. Thank you.